The difference between a life of greatness and a life of regret can often be traced back to a single word: discipline, not talent, not luck. Discipline. That silent force, that internal fire, that choice we make when no one's watching. It's the bridge between who you are and who you could be. And until you master it, your potential will sit locked behind the iron gates of hesitation and comfort. The world will never hand you greatness. It demands that you become someone worthy of receiving it. Discipline doesn't scream. It whispers. It lives in the early hour alarms that no one hears, in the workouts that feel like war, in the books read when the couch begs you to stay. It's the power to say, not now, to temptation, and yes, to vision. It's the iron spine behind every achiever who's carved their name into the walls of history. The artist who paints when uninspired. The leader who decides even in chaos. The builder who lays one more brick when the world says, it's enough. Discipline is not punishment, it's permission. Permission to rise, to demand more, to break free. You must stop chasing feelings. Feelings are liars. They whisper comfort and sell decay. They'll tell you you've done enough when you're only halfway there. They'll seduce you with short-term pleasure while robbing you of long-term pride. You want greatness? You must betray your comfort zone. You must divorce your excuses. You must walk into the fire of responsibility and come out forged. Success isn't some grand moment. It's the sum of small wins stacked on top of each other, day after day, week after week, year after year. Most people think it's a breakthrough. It's not. It's a grind. It's doing what you said you would do long after the feeling has left. It's discipline that teaches the mind to follow the heart even when the body protests. Every day, the world hands you two scripts. One is written by distraction, impulse, and weakness. The other is forged by vision, values, and strength. Every act of discipline is a pen stroke on your destiny. Every sacrifice, a line in the legacy you leave behind. You are always writing. The only question is, what story are you telling? You don't rise to the level of your ambition. You fall to the level of your habits. And habits are children of discipline. The person who builds a life worth living is not the one who wants it most. It's the one who is willing to suffer most for it. The one who has trained the muscles of the mind to do what must be done regardless of weather, emotion, or mood. Discipline is not something you have. It's something you become. And it begins in the mind. The battlefield is not the gym, the office, the studio, or the stage. It's in the quiet spaces where decisions are made. It's in the lonely hours where no one is watching. It's in the tension between who you are and who you know you could be. You will never master the external until you conquer the internal, until you stand before yourself and say, you don't get to quit, not today. You must become the parent of your own soul. You must set the boundaries, lay the laws, enforce the standards. And when your inner child throws a tantrum when it cries for comfort and ease, you must be the voice that says, we do hard things, we keep going. Because every great life is raised by discipline, not motivation, not inspiration, discipline. Most people wait to feel ready. But the ones who change the world, they show up ready or not. They don't ask how they feel. They ask, what's required of me today? They understand that discipline is the price of freedom. Freedom from mediocrity. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the prison of their own potential. And you don't find discipline, you build it. Like a muscle, like a craft, like a temple. It starts with the mind, yes, but it must move into belief. Because if the mind is the battlefield, then belief is the armor. You can have every plan in place, every strategy drawn out, but if you don't believe you're worthy of the destination, you'll sabotage the journey. Discipline without belief is slavery. But with belief, it becomes sacred. You must believe you were born for more. That your past does not define you, your patterns do. That your future is not handed to you, is created by every disciplined choice you make today. The question is not, can you? The question is, will you? And if you believe, truly believe, That the life you dream of is possible, then discipline is no longer a chore. It's a gift. It's the vehicle that takes you from wishing to having, from talking to becoming. But belief without clarity is like a fire without direction. Wild, unfocused, dangerous. So let your discipline give birth to clarity. Don't just act on purpose. Define what you're building. Write the vision. Speak the future. Make it vivid. Because when the path is clear, the steps become meaningful. Clarity silences the chaos. It turns "I have to" into "I choose to." It fuels your discipline with intention. You stop bouncing between goals like a leaf in the wind. You start moving like a ship with a compass. And every disciplined act becomes a brick in the structure of your future. This is why vision matters. Because vision is what makes discipline feel like devotion. Without vision, discipline feels like prison. But when your eyes are set on something greater, something higher every act of self-denial becomes an act of self-respect. You must know what you're fighting for. The early mornings, the missed parties, the sacrificed pleasures. They mean nothing if you don't tie them to something eternal, something unshakable, something worthy. Purpose is the fuel of the disciplined soul. It gives meaning to the mundane, fire to the fatigue, strength to the struggle. When you live with purpose, your life becomes a mission, not just a routine. But purpose without action is fantasy. Dreams without sweat are delusion. And this is where discipline earns its crown. It is the art of doing over and over and over. When motivation dies, discipline lives. When excitement fades, discipline stays. It is the invisible thread that holds your destiny together. You must act, not occasionally, but daily. You must do what others are unwilling to do, so you can live how others will never live. The difference between those who wish and those who have is one simple thing: consistent, disciplined action. Do you want to be free? Build discipline. Do you want to be wealthy? Build discipline. Do you want to be respected? Build discipline. Because everything you desire is upstream of self-control. Everything. And as you build, don't forget gratitude. Gratitude is the anchor that keeps discipline from turning into arrogance. It reminds you that every step forward is a gift, that even the struggle is sacred, that you are not entitled to success, you are entrusted with potential. Gratitude humbles the disciplined soul. It turns routine into reverence, effort into worship. There will be days when you want to quit, days when the mountain seems too high, the valley too dark. But those are the days that shape you, not the easy days, the days you move anyway, the days you grind without applause. That's when you become someone the old you would barely recognize. You are not here to dabble. You are here to dominate. Not others, yourself, your laziness, your doubt, your distractions. You were not born to blend in. You were born to build, to lead, to rise. And the tool that makes that possible is not found in talent or timing, it's in discipline. Speak your vision, train your will, master the art, and become the kind of person success cannot ignore. Not because you screamed the loudest, but because you acted the longest. Because when others slept, you built. When others feared, you moved. When others quit, you chose discipline. And that is how greatness is born. Discipline doesn't just build success. It builds you. It sharpens you, refines you, turns you into a weapon against mediocrity. Every rep you force out when your arms are shaking, every page you read when your mind wanders, every dollar you save when others spend it all forges you into someone the world cannot ignore. You think it's about the outcome, but it's not. It's about who you become in the process. The disciplined man or woman is rare because they've learned to do what others refuse. They've mastered the moment of decision. The instant between I could and I will. That's where strength is built. That's where lives are changed. And if you want a life most people never experience, you must live in a way most people never choose. You must say no to things that drain you, distract you, or delay you. Not because they're evil, but because they're not aligned. You see, discipline is not about restriction. It's about liberation. The more disciplined you become, the freer you are. free from regret, free from excuses, free from the shackles of undisciplined living. Because there's a weight to a life of indulgence, a heaviness in the soul that comes from knowing you're capable of more, but settling for less. And it accumulates over time. Every skipped workout, every snoozed alarm, every broken promise to yourself, it all stacks. And it becomes a wall. Not a wall that keeps the world out, a wall that keeps you in, trapped in your own potential. But every act of discipline is a hammer strike. Every small win is a crack in that wall, until one day it falls. And what's left? Freedom. Not comfort, not ethereal freedom. The kind that lets you walk through life with your head high and your soul intact. So stop negotiating with your lesser self. Stop debating your greatness. Make discipline your religion. Make it your language, your lifestyle, your law. And in time, you will not recognize the person you were. Because discipline doesn't just add to your life. It replaces your life. It replaces fear with focus, weakness with strength, excuses with execution. And if you stay with life, you refuse to bend, refuse to quit, refuse to let go, you will rise. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but undeniably. You'll look back and realize you didn't just build a career or a body or a bank account. You built a man. You built a woman. You built a life you're proud of. But discipline demands you bury your old self, the one addicted to comfort, the one who lives for approval, the one who postpones purpose for pleasure. That version of you must die so the real you can rise. And yes, it will hurt. Yes, it will be lonely. Yes, there will be days you question everything. But the fire you walk through is the same fire that will purify you. You don't need to be the smartest or the strongest or the most connected. You just need to stay in the fight. When it gets boring, when it gets hard, when no one claps, when no one cares. Stay. That's how the uncommon are born. In the dark, in the quiet, in the repetition that breaks the average and builds the unstoppable. Do you want to be extraordinary? Then do the ordinary things with extraordinary discipline. Wake up early, not to impress, but to build. Work when it's hard, not to prove, but to grow. Say no not to suffer, but to sharpen. Keep your word not to look good, but to be good. Because the only way to trust yourself is to train yourself. And every promise you keep to yourself adds a brick to that foundation until one day you become unshakable. Not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. And strength doesn't come from inspiration. It comes from discipline. The kind that's built in silence, in solitude, in suffering. So next time you feel weak good, that's your opportunity. Next time you want to quit perfect, that's your threshold. Push through it, push past it, dominate it. Because the difference between a lion and a lamb isn't genetics, it's discipline. And once you master it, you become dangerous. Dangerous to doubt, dangerous to fear, dangerous to anyone who ever bet against you. But you must be relentless. Not occasionally relentlessly. Consistently, daily, ruthlessly. You must wake up every day and recommit, re-engage, refuse to negotiate. Make your discipline sacred. Make it non-negotiable. Because the world is not waiting for another excuse. It's waiting for an example. And if not you, who? If not now, when? Burn that question into your mind. Let it haunt your laziness. Let it interrupt your distractions. Let it be the fire that makes discipline a lifestyle, not a phase. And understand this. Mastery is not about one big decision. It's 1,000 small ones. It's what you choose in the minute, the mundane, the unseen. And those choices, that quiet consistency, that's what makes the difference between a life that watches greatness and a life that creates it. You must choose right now what kind of life you will lead. One ruled by impulse or one ruled by intention. Discipline is not about becoming robotic. It's about becoming reliable to yourself, to your word, to your vision. It's about becoming the kind of person who shows up, not when it's easy, but when it matters. And trust might always matters. Every moment you master is a seed that in time becomes momentum. And momentum, once earned through discipline, is unstoppable. It turns small wins into massive shifts. It turns doubt into dominance. But remember, this is war. A war against your comfort, against your limits, against your excuses. You will be tested, and not once. Every day. Because life doesn't hand out trophies for intentions. It rewards execution. So, execute, show up, do the work, again and again and again. Until one day, the world doesn't just hear your words, it feels your presence. Because the disciplined don't need to announce who they are. Their life speaks for them. And it says one thing loud and clear: unstoppable. So how do you endure? How do you keep the flame alive when the wind howls and the rain pours? How do you keep building when no one claps, no one watches, no one helps? You remember who you are becoming. Discipline is not about this moment. It's about the future version of you waiting on the other side of pain. It's about the man who wakes up confident not because life is easy, but because he's earned his strength. It's about the woman who walks with peace not because the world is calm, but because her spirit is forged. Every day you delay, every time you choose ease over effort, that future version fades further into the distance. But every time you rise when it would be easier to stay down, you take one step closer to becoming someone even your past self wouldn't believe. You think this is about waking up early, or hitting the gym, or managing your time? It's deeper than that. It's about becoming a force, someone who commands respect not because they demand it, but because they embody it. The world is full of noise opinions, temptations, distractions, shortcuts. But discipline creates clarity. It filters the noise and sharpens your focus. You stop chasing everything and you start building something real, something that lasts. Because the undisciplined chase everything and catch nothing, but the disciplined stay locked in. They understand the value of saying no, not to punish themselves, but to protect themselves. Every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. This is the hidden power of discipline. It buys you back your time, your energy, your focus. It's not restrictive, it's protective. It protects the dream, it guards the flame, it defends the mission. And when you protect your focus, your life becomes a weapon. You begin to move differently, think differently, walk into rooms with an energy that can't be faked. Because real discipline doesn't just show in your schedule, it radiates in your spirit, in your tone, in your posture. You stop needing validation because your life validates itself. You stop needing permission because you've already said yes to yourself. That's what this is really about. Not discipline for discipline's sake, but for power. Not over others over self. Because the hardest person to lead is always you. The one who knows your doubts, your fears, your temptations, and yet still leads. That's leadership. That's discipline. And that's what the world is starved for. So start with the small things. Make your bed not because it matters to the world, but because it matters to you. Show your mind who's in charge. Get up when it's uncomfortable. Say no when it's inconvenient. Follow through when you're tired. Because if you can't be trusted with the small, you'll never hold the big. And here's the secret. Discipline compounds. It builds like compound interest. One day, the world may not see the early mornings, the silent sacrifices, the lonely grinds, but they will see what it built. And they'll call it talent. They'll call it luck. They'll call it natural. They'll call it everything, but what it really was, discipline. Don't fall for the myth of motivation. It's not real. Not in the way people think. Motivation is a moment. Discipline is a mechanism. One fades, the other functions. Motivation is the spark. Discipline is the engine. Motivation gets you going. Discipline gets you there. So stop chasing sparks. Build the engine. Do the work when it's boring, when it's slow, when it feels pointless. That's the grind that separates legends from the forgotten. And understand this. Every excuse is a brick in the wall between you and your greatness. Tear them down. Replace every I can't with I must. Replace every maybe with I will. Don't let your feelings dictate your future. Let your vision do that. Because if your feelings are the master, your potential will be the prisoner. You are not here to feel good. You are here to become great. And becoming is not comfortable. It's confrontation with your own limitations, your own weaknesses, your own laziness. But that confrontation creates transformation. Discipline is how you move from potential to proof. It is the vehicle that transports dreams from imagination to incarnation. Without it, all you have is wishes. With it, you build witness. People see your transformation. Your life becomes the evidence. And not just for others, for yourself. Because there is no deeper confidence than knowing, I can trust me. That's the gift of discipline. It gives you back. The version you always knew you could be. The one buried under years of procrastination, distractions, and half-hearted attempts. But that version doesn't rise with hype. It rises with habits. And habits are formed in the furnace of consistency. Not once, not twice, every day. Because repetition is the language of mastery. And if you want to master your life, you must first master your day. How you wake up, how you speak to yourself, what you eat, what you tolerate, what you prioritize. It's all a mirror, and it reflects what you're committed to. So ask yourself, what am I really committed to? Not what you say, not what you hope, what your actions reveal. Because your habits are your real beliefs, and your discipline is your real character. And if you want to change your life, Don, change everything. Just change one thing and guard it like gold. Build around it, then add another. Stack it, brick by brick, layer by layer, until one day you'll look around and realize you didn't just build discipline. You built dominion over self, over time, over life. And that is where freedom begins. There's something sacred about a man or woman who does what must be done without being told, without being watched, without being praised. That kind of person is rare, and rare is always valuable. Discipline makes you rare. When others are loud, you are focused. When others chase dopamine, you chase destiny. While the world scrolls, you study. While the world waits for permission, you build quietly because you've learned the truth. The work you do in silence is what speaks the loudest in time. Every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. And discipline is how you cast that vote over and over again until the new you becomes inevitable. But here's the part they don't tell you. Discipline hurts in the beginning. It feels like death. Death of comfort. Death of ease. Death of the lazy version of you that just wants to be liked, entertained, and left alone. But through that death, something is born. Strength, grit, fire in the soul. And the more you feed that fire, the more you begin to burn brighter than your fears. You start living differently, eating differently, speaking differently. You no longer tolerate half-effort, cheap pleasures, and aimless days. Because the new you has no appetite for mediocrity. And people will notice. They'll ask what changed. They'll ask what you're doing. But you won't have to explain. They'll feel it. They'll feel it in your presence, in the way you move, in the way you hold yourself. Because discipline makes you magnetic. Not because you're perfect, but because you're proven. You've proven to yourself that you can be counted on, that you're reliable, that when the pressure rises, you do not fold, you focus. And that kind of presence is rare. Because discipline doesn't just build habits, it builds identity. And once your identity shifts, your life follows. You stop seeing discipline as restriction. You start seeing it as a form of love, a form of respect for your future self. You're not punishing yourself. You're preparing yourself. You're not missing out, you're leveling up. So when the temptation comes, and it will come, you don't just say no to it, you say yes to who you're becoming. That version of you who walks into rooms with quiet confidence, who creates instead of complains, who leads instead of follows, who builds instead of blames. That version of you is worth the sacrifice. So pay the price. Now, with your sweat, with your effort, with your decisions. Because later that same discipline that cost you comfort will give you freedom. And that freedom, that peace of knowing you've earned the life you live, is worth every rep, every early morning, every no to the easy path. Then listen carefully, because this is where most fall. Not in the beginning when motivation is fresh, not at the end when the finish line is near. They fall in the middle, in the gray. In the quiet days where the work feels invisible and the reward feels far. The middle is where dreams go to die, because it's not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's repetition, it's routine, it's doing the same hard things over and over with no audience and no applause. But that's where greatness is forged. It's easy to sprint at the start. It's natural to push hard when everyone's watching. But true discipline is revealed in the unremarkable, the mundane, the monotony. That's where the warriors are separated from the wishers. You want to win? Outlast everyone in the middle. Because the truth is this: life doesn't reward the most talented. It rewards the most consistent. The ones who show up long after the novelty wears off. The ones who grind in silence while others seek attention. The ones who keep their promises, especially the ones made in private. That's what builds legacy. You see, talent gets you noticed. Discipline gets you respected. Talent opens the door. Discipline keeps you in the room. Because the world has seen too many shooting stars, people who rose fast and fell faster. Not because they lack skill, but because they lack structure. And discipline is structure. It's the frame that holds your greatness together. Without it, your success will collapse under the weight of inconsistency. But with it, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Don't pray for motivation. Train for discipline. Because the magic you seek doesn't live in emotion. It lives in execution. Discipline is a daily decision. Not once. Every day. Every choice. Every meal. Every hour. Every word. You're either building the life you want or accepting the life you don't. There is no neutral. You are always sculpting something. So sculpt something worth being remembered for. Let your life speak when your mouth is closed. Let your work echo long after you've walked out of the room. Let your character be so rooted in discipline that storms don't shake you, they shape you. Because in the end, the goal isn't just to achieve something, it's to become someone. Someone who doesn't need to be pushed. Someone who can lead themselves. Someone who masters emotion instead of being mastered by it. That kind of person doesn't just live with discipline, they are disciplined. Walking, breathing, focused. And once you become that, you no longer chase success. You attract it. We're talking about becoming a different kind of human. A person who is no longer ruled by pleasure, no longer enslaved by impulse, no longer drifting through life, reacting to circumstance. A person who creates their life one deliberate decision at a time. That's the power of self-discipline. It doesn't just help you achieve goals, it rewires your identity. It transforms you from a passive consumer to an active creator, from a passenger to a driver, from the hunted to the hunter. Because make no mistake, life is hunting you. Distractions are hunting you. Comfort is hunting you. Excuses are hunting you. And if you don't fight back with structure, they will feast on your potential. Every time you delay action, you make weakness stronger. Every time you break your word to yourself, you let chaos in. And eventually, chaos becomes normal. Procrastination becomes a personality. Laziness becomes a lifestyle. Until one day, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize what you've become. But discipline is how you take the wheel back. It says, no more drifting, no more numbing, no more running. It anchors you, grounds you, builds you brick by brick until you're no longer begging for motivation. You're built like a machine of mission and purpose. You don't need to shout. You don't need to post. You just execute. People see your energy and know this one is different. This one doesn't flinch. This one is built from concrete and fire. And the world will try to pull you off track. Friends who say, take a break. The culture that says, just enjoy your life. The little voice inside that whispers, you deserve to rest today. But you know better. You know, discipline is not about punishment. It's about alignment. It's about bringing your daily actions into alignment with your higher calling. Because every time you choose the easy way, you betray your future self. But every time you choose discipline, you honor that version of you that's waiting, that stronger, richer, wiser, freer version. The one watching, hoping, begging you to stay the course. And here's the truth. You're not tired. You're not stuck. You're just undisciplined. And once you fix that, your life begins to move. You start waking up with clarity. You start walking with certainty. You stop negotiating with your weaknesses and start commanding your focus. You stop chasing success and start becoming someone success can't ignore. Because when you're disciplined, you stop living by chance. You live by choice. And choice is power. Because if you truly want to separate yourself from the masses, you must embrace what they run from. They run from discomfort. You walk into it. They run from structure. You build it like armor. They run from routine. You turn it into a ritual because you've realized something they haven't. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you feel like. Freedom comes from disciplining yourself to do what must be done no matter how you feel. And that kind of freedom, it's rare because it requires war. Not a war with the world, a war within. Every morning you wake up and go to battle with the version of you that wants to delay, scroll, snooze, escape, consume, avoid. And you choose to win. Again and again and again. That is what separates those who create a life from those who wish for one. Discipline is how you wage that war and win it. And the cost of winning? High. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be mocked. You'll be called too intense, too focused, too driven. But that's the price of becoming uncommon in a world addicted to average. You will outgrow people. You will outgrow patterns. You will outgrow environments that once felt like home. Because discipline pulls you forward, and not everyone is willing to come with you. Let them stay. Let them talk. You have work to do. You have a future to build. You have a destiny to protect. And the more you walk in discipline, the more you realize this life isn't about impressing others. It's about becoming undeniable to yourself. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, I did what I said I would do. I didn't cave. I didn't run. I didn't let my feelings own me. I am who I promised myself I'd become. And if you can say that, you've already won. Because the highest form of respect is self-respect. But self-respect isn't gifted. It's earned through daily, disciplined action. No shortcuts. No cheat codes. No excuses. Just work. Hard, honest, repeated work. Work that makes you sweat, sacrifice, and suffer. Work that feels invisible until one day it becomes undeniable. And that's the moment you'll realize the results were never the reward. You were. Then let's keep going because we're not done until you're forged. You see, the moment you decide to become disciplined, something powerful happens. You become dangerous. Not to others, to weakness, to mediocrity, to the version of you that settles. Discipline makes you a threat to every excuse you've ever lived by, a threat to every limitation you once accepted as truth, a threat to your past because now your future is louder. And when that future starts speaking, it doesn't whisper. It roars. You start making decisions with conviction. You stop explaining your standards. You stop lowering your energy to fit in with people who refuse to level up. You stop waiting for permission to chase your calling. You become your own permission slip, and the world starts to notice. Because real discipline doesn't make you rigid, it makes you radiate. There's a calm in your eyes, a purpose in your step, a certainty in your presence. You're no longer wondering who you are. You know. And that knowing, it's what the world respects. But don't confuse discipline with perfection. You will fail. You will slip. You will fall short. The difference? The discipline don't stay down. They adjust. They learn. They recommit. Because discipline is not about never breaking. It's about never quitting. It's about returning to the mission again and again and again, even if yesterday was a disaster. Because the mission doesn't care about your mood. The dream doesn't respond to your drama. The goal doesn't lower itself to fit your feelings. It waits. And the disciplined return with fire in their chest and steel in their soul. Because they've made a covenant, not just a goal. Goals are what you hope to achieve. Covenants are what you refuse to betray. So stop treating your dreams like casual interests. Treat them like sacred assignments, like life and death mandates. Because the truth is, they are. Every day you delay your discipline, you let another version of your potential die. A book that's never written, a body that's never built, a business that never impacts, a life that never awakens, not because you weren't good enough, but because you weren't consistent enough. And that should haunt you more than failure, because the graveyard is full of untold stories. Not from the unworthy, from the undisciplined. You must decide. Will you join them or rise? Then rise we shall, because the world doesn't need another person with potential. It needs another person with discipline, the kind that walks through fire and doesn't flinch, the kind that doesn't wait for life to settle down, the kind that doesn't blame their past, the kind that looks life in the face and says, try me. Because when you build the muscle of discipline, you stop being reactive and start becoming relentless. And when you're relentless, everything changes. Your time becomes sacred. Your energy becomes focused. Your words become powerful. Your steps become strategic. Your life becomes intentional. And the truth is, most people won't understand you anymore. Because most people don't wake up early to train their mind before the sun rises. Most people don't sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term greatness. Most people don't choose pain on purpose, to grow, to stretch, to elevate. But you do, because you've seen what the undisciplined life costs and you're not willing to pay that price anymore. You're done with surviving. You're done with hiding. You're done with fitting into a life that doesn't fit who you were meant to be. From this point on, your discipline becomes your weapon, not against others, but against everything that ever tried to steal your fire. You discipline your mind so fear loses its grip. You discipline your body so laziness loses its home. You discipline your habits so mediocrity loses its invitation. You build yourself, and not in bursts of energy, but in daily precision. Day in, day out. Repetition, refinement, ruthlessness with your own excuses. And as you do, something starts to rise in you. Dignity, that deep, quiet knowing. I am who I say I am. I do what I say I'll do. I show up, I follow through, I finish. Not because it's fun, not because it's easy, but because it's right, because that's who you are now. Discipline has made you dangerous. Discipline has made you decisive. Discipline has made you a leader, not of others, but of yourself. And once you can lead yourself, you can go anywhere. Let's bring it home, not with a whisper, but with thunder. Because after all the sweat, the sacrifice, the early mornings and silent nights, there comes a moment where everything clicks. You look back and the pain, the pressure, the loneliness, they were not punishments. They were preparation for this moment, this version of you, the one who no longer breaks, The one who no longer asks, can I, but declares, watch me. Because now you don't just know discipline. You are disciplined. You carry it in your walk, in your breath, in your presence. No longer chasing success, but embodying the kind of person it bows to. And the world? It starts to bend. Opportunities appear. People pay attention. Doors open. Not because you begged, but because you built. And through it all, you realize the goal was never just the money, the body, the title, the trophy. Those were symbols. The real reward was who you became. You became the kind of person no storm could shake. The kind of person who follows through, especially when it hurts. The kind of person who leads their life instead of watching it drift by. So, from this moment forward, speak to yourself with power. Walk with the poise of someone who's earned it. And hold the line. Hold the standard. Hold the vision. Hold the discipline. Because now you know discipline isn't something you do. It's the fire you become. Now go. Build. Become. And let the world feel your unshakable presence.